Okay, so welcome to the March meeting of the Parish Council. In tonight's meeting, we'll have the usual reports from the Clerk, which covers all the sort of outstanding business that we've got. We'll have a Board Councillors report, hopefully from Leo. I will give an update on the Clubhouse project, where it's got to. Kay, I think you're giving an update on the Village Green application. We've got 3 planning applications this month. One is effectively, well, it's not quite listed building consent. I think it started as listed building consent. It's now turned into a full application for replacement of windows and doors at 3 Lodge Farm Court. There's permission sought to remove a diseased tree that's protected by a tree protection order at 49 Shepperton. And there's a discharge of conditions at Cosgrove Park, part of which is actually in Castlethorpe. Now, there is actually a 4th planning application that came in after the agenda had been published, but its expiry date on the consultation is the 1st of April, which is before our next meeting. So I'm going to take the exceptional step of having a discussion in this meeting. And then, as it happens, and it's one of the sort of hangovers from COVID, the Clerk does have delegated authority to make decisions. So on our advice, we'll ask you to submit that, because I don't think normally, with a normal planning application, we can ask Milton Keynes Council to extend. But I don't think they'll do that for a tree protection order. Tonight's resolutions are to consider any actions on Milton Keynes Council's new city plan, in which one option is to permit building right up to Devil's Dip, so all of those farms, as well as identifying 3 sites within Castlethorpe. So we have to talk about what we're going to do that. The second one is to go into just a formality, which is to update delegated authority for Clubhouse expenditure. Then we have a resolution on looking at some monkey challenge equipment to go, I think, in the fish ponds, but we'll discuss that when we get to it. To consider asking Milton Keynes Council for a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit throughout the village. To discuss problems with excess water after the heavy rains, and to consider subscribing to the Milton Keynes Play Association for summer play sessions. There is a part 2 where you will have to leave if you're still here, if you last that long. And we will turn off the live stream, where we've got a number of quotes that we have to consider on various things to do with, well, it's electricity supply, dog wins, replacing posts, repairing benches, and preparing a drain in Castlefield. And also, again, a formality I hasten to add on Jackie's contract. The next meeting will be the 8th of April, not the 1st, as was published, because that's Easter Monday. Though we do have to check if we're going to be quorum for that meeting, because it's also our annual parish meeting in April. And just draw your attention to a little, well, it's within the next month. The next local police forum is at 7 p.m, 27th of March at Hanslope Community Hall. If any of you are interested in going to that, please do put this on. So that's
a couple of items under section 9.
Yes, there is correspondence as well. Yeah, we'll deal with that when we come to it. Right, so having done that introduction, we'll start the open forum. So who wishes to speak first? No? If you prefer, I will adjourn the meeting when I've given the Clubhouse report and allow members of the public to speak at that point. If you prefer to do it then rather than now, but it's up to you, really. Yeah.
Certainly, we're not able to say until after we both get paid.
Okay, all right, that's fair enough then. Right, in that case, do you have something, Tony?
No.
No, no, okay. If there's nothing else, then we'll move into the council meeting. So apologies for absence. Russell, who is here with us in spirit, if not in body. Hello, Russell.
Hello, evening.
Dave Hines by way of holiday and Ian Markham by way of work. Any declarations of interest in any of the items, please? No? Approving the minutes of the last meeting. Are there any matters of accuracy that anyone would like amended? No? In that case, if I propose we accept it and Darren is seconding, all in favour? Sign, please. Right, so we now move on to the, I'll tell you what, to save everyone's time, we'll just reorder this. We'll do the Clubhouse report first, yeah, that will save. Right, so the construction of the Clubhouse is proceeding pretty well. The interior of the existing cricket pavilion has been remodelled to enlarge the cricket changing rooms, provide toilets for the clubhouse, and there's a small parish office as well. There's a high degree of confidence that the pavilion will be available for the start of the cricket season in April. I am just trying to get a revised date for completion from them because obviously the very bad weather may have caused some impact on their schedule. The clubhouse extension is under construction and should be completed in April, latest May. As you'll have seen, the slab, the concrete floor has been poured and inspected by building control and passed. The walls are now being built and are going up quite well. Now, this is, I'm sure, the bit that we were waiting for. There's been one major issue. We were aware that some form of ramping would be required to accommodate the falling ground level away from the pavilion. So the pavilion's at one level, I'm sure you all know, it goes out for a bit and then it falls off quite a lot. But we wanted to see what the finished ground level was going to be because during construction, earth and hardcore is piled up. And indeed, if you look at the base of it, you'll see that there has been some hardcore put around there. Specifically to make sure the scaffolding can be secure. And we thought that we could get some earth and build it up. And I had actually spoken to one of the local farmers about providing some topsoil to do the banking up. Because of that, we did not include it in the original Hickman's contract. We thought we could do some of this ourselves. Unfortunately, and it was 2 weeks ago now, isn't it? 2 weeks ago on the Monday, when two of the project team were with Hickford's organising the setting out for the bricklayers who were just about to start. Hickford pointed out that the ramping could not be as we had expected, a simple ramp coming up to it, but because of building regulations and because of the height, they would actually have to come up to a flat area, turning area, then come round and then go back. And this was much more elaborate than we had expected. And indeed, they had got a quote of £25,000, which is, you know, we are extremely tight on this budget. We've got about 5,000. Well, we'd go a little bit more than that, I suppose up to 10. We'd budgeted 5. And we've got leeway up to 10,000 for various change orders. And there are other change orders, as I'll come to in a moment. The only way to mitigate this was to relocate the rear service door from being on the end of the building round to the side at the back, because the ground hadn't fallen away very much by then. And to reorient the front entrance door to face outwards. This was urgent as the bricklayers were starting work, so councillors gave their support by a majority of 5 in favour, 1 abstention and 1 no response, to allow the clerk to use her delegated authority to instruct the contractor to do that. And there's currently what is called a non-material amendment, and then it may in with planning to get that change made. A simple ramp and a footpath, which we also knew we had the footpath to build between the existing footpath and the front door, whatever happened, has been quoted at 2.6k and has been approved under delegated authority. So, and 2.6, we were expecting 1 to 2k for the footpath, so that's pretty much where we expected it to be. And actually, yeah, there's a small point about the invoice payment is being deferred to July in order to help us manage our cash flow. We're very tight on cash flow as well as on cash. The rear service door may need some hopefully minor banking up, but again, we're going to wait and see until we see the finished ground levels on that. But it really doesn't fall very much away by the from the pavilion side. Now, I appreciate that the orientation of the door away from Thrupp Close had been a commitment that we had made to you, the residents. And I did write immediately a letter of apology to you all, explaining what had happened. And obviously I've had 2 letters of complaint so far, to which I replied. Phase 1 includes leaving the clubhouse in a state where cricket can serve their teas during the 2024 season. This will involve providing a hand wash basin, sink, prep table and shelf, and one of the project team has offered to fit those for free, and Ventaxia fans. Other phase 1 change orders are for a bike rack, which was a planning condition, the front ramp, which we talked about, and corridor heating. And the total phase 1 change orders come to about 6.6k, which is as in the cash forecast. And those are all the change orders that we feel are going to be necessary for phase 1 of the building. We can't see any other risks. There's one item which is strictly not phase 1, which is, and it's not necessary while we're only operating the clubhouse in the light, which will be probably for most of 2024. But the street light outside the pavilion, or right next to the adult exercise equipment, has been temperamental. Sometimes we've been up there and it's not been working. Sometimes we've been up there and it is working. So it might be worth doing the upgrade on that, which will need to illuminate the footpath for safety reasons anyway, while Hickfords are around, because they do have a street lighting team. So authority has already been given for change orders up to 5k. Agenda item 7.3 requests council to give delegated authority of 7.5, which would include the street light, and would be within the cash forecast that we've provided. The seating area of the clubhouse will have temporary flooring on the left-hand side for cricket. The right-hand side won't be used. And it will be equipped with the old cricket pavilion furniture for cricket tees during the 2024 season. Moving on to phase 2, which is the fit out. We intend to develop phase 2 in 2 stages. The first is to provide a cafe, and the second is to provide a bar. We have a grant application into the Milton Keynes Community Foundation for £10,000 to create a community space with a cafe offering hot and cold drinks and simple snacks. And we hope to offer a free Wi-Fi service to permit cafe-style home working, and a decision on our application is due in April. In fact, it's been in, there have been some queries. We're just answering those queries, ready itemizing the equipment. After deducting the phase 1 costs, which are the basic build and the change orders, we'll have about 30k available from the Public Works Loan Board loan. This won't be sufficient by itself for a bar, and some of the costs, particularly of the servery bar front and rear counters and decoration, still await quotes. But with modest grant awards, that project should be viable now. We've got 2 grant applications, one to BIFA, and we're investigating an ECB grant as well. But those are on hold while we sort out the others. We have got one into National Lottery, which again is on hold. There is an extended cafe option with more equipment, which would allow a greater menu range, but that will depend on demand, and we won't spend public money until we know that demand exists. The caveat is that although we did start on this last year, these grants, the grant processes are very long and won't complete until late summer. Well, the Community Foundation one should in April, but the others would be late summer. And we have to recognise that these grants are very, very competitive these days. There's just not very much money around. If we're successful in the Community Foundation, we might be able to open the cafe in the summer, just finalising the quotes. But the early opening that a successful National Lottery grant, for example, would give us would be the autumn, I think. Yeah, in fact, I've got a Christmas drink in there. I'll be very pleased. Invitations to join a public art advisory group for artwork at both the Clubhouse and on the Village Shop extension, which we're also hoping to do, have been published on Facebook and are included in the latest edition of Castlethorpe News, which I think is going out either later this week or next week, and the return date for interest is the end of the month. Louise Izod, the Milton Keynes Council Public Art Officer, will come to the kick-off meeting, which is going to be on the 22nd of April here in the Village Hall, 7:30, and she'll make sure, tell us all how it works, and so that we can make sure the submission's compliant. Phase 3, I call Phase 3 the operation of the Clubhouse. It's being managed by a community interest company, which has been established, Castlethorpe Community Space, CIC, in almost exactly the same way as the Village Shop is run. You know, there's a community interest company there, rather than being operated directly by the parish council. Its name reflects its use of space for the community and not just a bar. The initial directors are myself, Steve Bradbury, Lawrence Chapman, Russell Georgia, Ian Bourne and Luke Jeffries. But once it's been fitted out and ready for use, residents will be invited to become members, and those members will then elect their own directors, and it will be run as directors want it to be run. A decision is to be made, but certainly not until we've got through the building part of Phase 1, and we know at a minimum if we can fund the cafe option, whether the community interest company will operate the Clubhouse directly, or whether it will seek tenants in the way in which, you know, Udi and Dina are tenants at the shop. And I did want to finish with credits. I mean, as well as those initial directors, Bridget Richards, Stuart Tate, Jackie Ladyman and Darren Merritt have all put quite a lot of incredible amount of extra work into this project. You know, managing the build, specifying the fit out, and indeed actually getting the planning permission in the first place, getting the quotes in, and making the grant applications and preparing the business plans. So, you know, there is quite I would like to record a vote of thanks to all of those that have been part of that. So that's my report, and an abbreviated version of that will go on the website in the next few days. So I'll now adjourn the meeting so that we can have questions on that.
I think the only comment I'd make is I think the guidance, as I understand it, is really clear that the changes we're proposing to the entrance constitute a material change, and that's how I'll be positioning our objection to the Milton Keynes Council. It hasn't come up on the planning committee yet, so we can't do that. But my consultation with the council is along the lines of this is very much a material change, and it should go through a replan and consultation, or at least an opportunity to object. And remind the council of the original objections, which were met by positioning the door away from the front post which is what you're trying to do, appreciate that. But moving it to where it's facing the houses is a material change. But we wouldn't be happy. I wouldn't be happy with that.
Yeah.
Not actually facing the house, it's like,
It's facing, it's right actually, because it's facing the field, which basically is the three houses that face into the field.
and what about putting a fence down, so would that work?
I don't think there's any point in discussing it.
Okay.
I just really.
Okay.
I think.
Well, I mean, I did respond to it. I mean, first of all, we have had a previous non-material amendment which involved reciting a door, and that was treated as an NMA, and our architect said he believed it was an NMA. But you can make that observation. But I did ask you, Steve, at the time, what else you would have expected us to do.
I genuinely don't think there's any value in having a discussion about it. I appreciate your position, you appreciate mine. Don't object to the clubhouse at all, that's never been a concern. Fundamentally, I object to the concept of a bar across the road from the house. I'm afraid that's how I feel, and that's the position I should continue to hold. This change is a material change, and that's what we should focus on.
Okay. Anyone else wants to?
I just want to reiterate what I put in my email to you, which I don't know if everybody has seen. I don't know if emails back and forth have become public knowledge, but I just think it's extremely disappointing that the architect was not employed right from the beginning, and this would all have been known from the start. And you said to me in the email that you were trying to reduce costs and avoid paying for that, but now I feel like if it's a material change, then we're going to have to employ an architect anyway, so you're going to incur costs. So it's from my perspective, I understand that it was the only request that was granted from the residents in Clerk Close, and that now that is the only request is now not happening. And whilst there was no consultation, and I appreciate you had to make the decision quickly, but if it's a material change, then the building work has to stop anyway, so you're not going to get your timescales. And I'm just as a note, Philip, I'm well aware of where my house is, and that you were saying that the other houses will defer the noise, but that wasn't the point.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's
Yeah.
I do think it's important to understand here. The issue is not, as Steve says, whether there's a bar. The planning permission has already gone through for that. There will be a certain level of chatter as people walk to the front door. There will be a certain level of chatter when people are sitting outside enjoying their drink. The issue about reorienting the door is whether there will be an increased level of noise associated with walking down a path towards the entrance and stepping straight in, or walking down the path to the entrance, turning right, turning left again and going in. And that was the point I was trying to make, Cheryl, that I think the increase in noise over the chatter that will occur from people walking down the path or sitting in the garden will be so minor, it'll be imperceptible. And that is the point that I will certainly make.
I think, Steve's got it right. Milton Keynes Council will determine whether it's a material or non-material change. And I suggest whatever the outcome, we get our heads together after they've decided and try and discuss what's the most workable outcome given given the decision of the planning section.
Steve, the point, I am disappointed, and I did ask that you didn't do this, because what do you think that you didn't actually object on this? We've had to do this, and I don't think there were any other options. I have asked you what you would expect to do, and what do you think would happen now if your objections were to succeed.
I'm afraid that's not my concern, Philip. You know,
Well.
this is a concern for me.
Well,
For you and for the team operating the development, and we're simply holding the position that we objected to an entrance at the front. You made a concession to us as the neighbours to where it is, and you can't now overturn that, at least without the opportunity for Middleton's Council to reconsider our original objection. And
well, as Steve said,
it's their decision.
I don't know, it's well, decide
they will indeed decide, but if they do decide, you know, you do just need to be aware of the consequences of this if there is a problem, and it will be a considerable expense, which this is not, you know, my money, it's not Steve's money.
It's our money. We've
It's
always
your
said
money,
that. There is not.
and
the money to do-
and
it will come from the stipend.
Steve, yeah, and
On a-
if we have to make changes, then there will have to be funded in some form. And the only way it can be funded is by us all. And I just do want you to be aware.
We said that from the outset, that
Yeah.
there is not the money to cut the bill cost.
Yeah.
I mean, we put the bill cost on the
Yeah.
table very early on. You dismissed it and said, no, it won't get anything like that. Now, of course, you don't have enough money. To Cheryl's point, you haven't even been able
No,
to.
actually, Steve, that is quite incorrect. That is quite incorrect. The money, we have got enough money to do the build. We did a lot of work over last summer in order to remodeling to make sure that we could do it within the build. We are actually well within our contingency, even with the ramps and with the other work that we're talking about. So, you know, we are where we expected to be. We always said that we would have to, that phase 2 would rely on getting grants in. And indeed, so it is. So there is no change in the position that was outlined to the village about this time last year when we were embarking on this project. And I do want that to be absolutely
That's
clear.
right. So give it the plan
Yeah.
as we agreed it, and that you can sign off by the council. And if you can't, then you've got £25,000 hole in your budget to fill.
Yeah. And to Cheryl's point on the costs, I mean, I will say this. If we had employed a professional architect, and you might have said, well, we should have employed a professional project manager, and we should have employed, you know, various other people in order to do the thing professionally, a kitchen fitter, you know, these are jobs which some members of the project team who've got specific skills have brought to this. We could have done all that. All that would have happened was that there would have been extra costs. The outcome would have been the same, because as the point you made to me in your first email, the ground is where the ground is, you know. And actually, when we did the original drawings, when we had the meeting in here, and I suggested, well, we could move the door, you know, to point away, that was before we'd finalised any drawings. We subsequently, once we had that, we then submitted a planning application, which went through. So all that would have happened was we would have spent that money and known earlier that there was a problem. Well, but we
You would
did.
have known earlier that you didn't have enough, that you had a shortfall, because you would have had to make up.
No,
that
but
ground.
what we would have then done is we would have had to do what we are now doing.
No, you wouldn't, because you would have had to, your architect would have told you right from the start, and I don't agree, I'm
All
sorry, but I don't agree that
All right.
you could employ a professional project manager, and you could employ a professional kitchen fitter. A professional kitchen fitter isn't the same as a professional architect who's going to.
No. I'm simply telling you what the various skills are that have been brought in, and you could argue that any one of those, if there is something that is overlooked, oh, well, you could have overcome that if you had had a professional this, that, and the other. But what I'm telling you is that the fact is, we have, by doing this, we are going to provide a clubhouse for the village, and it's going to be within budget, and it is what the village wants. Okay.
So just back to your question that you posed to Steve as to what do you expect us to do? So if I apply for planning for an extension for my property, and I get the planning and I get halfway through it and I think, actually, no, somebody tells me, because I didn't employ a professional architect, somebody tells me that I can't, that's not going to work out. If I then just turn around and say, well, I can't do it that way, I'm going to do it this way, sorry. And then usually when you can't do that, I'll say, well, what do you want me to do, Philip?
Well, look, if it is a non-material amendment, and I do take Steve's point, Milton Keynes Council will decide on that, but our architect says it is, and I think, you know, precedent on the other changes probably indicate that it is, then you would put in for a non-material amendment, and Milton Keynes Council would either grant that or not. That's the way planning works. It's as simple as that. Anyway, look,
So then,
I think we pretty much, let's have one.
Saying that to build the ramp, you're 25,000 short. Can you guarantee that you're not going to add any extra fees onto our council tax to pay?
No, absolutely. I'm the reverse. I guarantee you we will.
Because one of the meetings way back, that was one of my questions, and you did say that nothing could ever go onto our council tax. So that's now changing.
I can't imagine.
I can guarantee.
We always.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Well,
Well,
I promise you that if there is a change, and sorry,
that's changed too, then we will have to. So what?
Well, I can't. It was, we had always talked about a PWLB loan, and a PWLB loan would obviously have to be funded by the precept. So it would be funded from council tax. I mean, I can't remember the context and what I was speaking, but I can't. And you may have taken away something that I didn't mean, or maybe I misspoke, but it just couldn't be. If there's a PWLB loan, it has to be funded through the precept.
That's also not fair to some people in the village, adding on to their council tax if they don't want to use it. If you do a membership, that's.
Well, hey, that's democracy, isn't it?
No, it's not. Some people in the village cannot afford.
I think the cost per household is minimum.
The cost per household is its minimum. And we did a formal parish poll conducted by Milton Keynes Democratic Services to see whether the
There was no mention on your poll that actually if you go ahead with it.
because we were told that it. All right, look, I'm truly, it wasn't, and that was because Democratic Services told us we had to ask a very simple yes/no question, and it was, do you want to build a clubhouse? Was what they told us we had to do. No, but they did. You could have said all sorts of things, but yes.
Sorry, I'll challenge my notes on this. I mean, affordability, and us guys, that's not a problem. But the cost per household, can we remember what it is? Is it about £12 a year? Or?
Yes, it is.
It really is not that much.
Yeah.
And to provide a facility for the village for generations to come, when there's absolutely nothing to do in this village, and the people that have just moved into Carrington Road.
All right. Look, we are going to stop this. We're meant to allow 15 minutes for the open forum, and it's just becoming an argument, and it's a he said you said sort of thing. Yeah.
Can I just ask, 25k quotes, have you had any other quotes?
No, we haven't. Hickfords are actually the main contractor on site,
Right.
and they would do that, and it frankly would not be practical to get another builder in at this stage. You can't do it. Sorry?
You can still ask for a quote, you don't have to change builders.
We had literally one day to make that decision. Literally one day, because the bricklayers were actually doing, in fact, they did have to take out some bricks they'd already laid. Yeah, in order to move the door.
I mean, you turn that as well, what would be the value to the village of paying £25,000 for the rent?
Yeah.
I think for the whole village, not just for us and for us.
Yeah. Look, I understand you're annoyed. If I was living in Thrupp Close, I'd be annoyed. It's because, you know, I did say this to you, and it is. I would not have done this if there had been any other way in which we could have gone forward. It just we. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm taking it on my shoulders, Steve, but it's.
Oh, Steve, I think it's something ever since we did the questionnaire before the first neighbourhood plan, so it's something that's clearly indicated that the villages wanted a place that they could have a social, and with the park, we just haven't got that.
All right, no, I think we must stop. We've got a council meeting to get on with now.
So how do we have, sorry, you're shaking your head.
Yeah.
How do we get something minuted that says this venue will never be used as a party venue without further consent review? Because if we can make a decision that says we need to change the door to avoid paying £25,000, then how do we know, what's your assurance, and how do we get a cast iron guarantee that this will not start being used as a party venue in the future? I know you're not going to make it now, but who's to say 5 years' time?
Well, I think there is actually a lease which has now been signed. It's been signed tonight, between the parish council and the community space CIC.
Okay.
And that would give the parish council control over the uses, and the uses are not to cannibalise the revenue for the parish, for the village hall, because obviously this is the place that we rent out for to. By the way, it's going to have fixed furniture, or largely fixed furniture. It's not going to be somewhere where you can party. But anyway, that is, I mean, what would happen, just so you understand the process, the community space CIC the members, the village, will appoint directors. Those directors will talk about, you know, how they want it to, you know, to go. And if they want to do anything pretty much other than what is in the remit of the brief, but they will have to come back to the parish council. Okay.
That's reassuring.
Okay, all right, but I think, thank you very much for taking the trouble to come along. I do appreciate it. Honestly, it's nice to see some faces actually in the hall, other than Liam's and Tony's, of course, who are regulars here, but we do appreciate that. So we will now move into the parish council meeting itself, or more to the point, resume the parish council meeting. Okay, so we can now restart. If you want to make a move.
Sorry, I stay until you tell me I can't stay because I have other rights about the dolphin, so. I get nothing better.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, of course.
All right. Okay. Vic?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have a lovely evening.
Oh, yeah, Cheryl, the dog bins are actually in part 2.
Oh.
And all it is, do you want to just very quickly ask the question now?
It's why we have to move the bin from Castlefield to the sports field. We can't have an additional one. Because because I use the bin in Castlefield all the time, it's always very well used, and I'd rather it stays and we have an extra one in the sports field. But I don't know what the reason would be, we wouldn't do that.
Yes.
I mean, we have said to Lee that we will, he said it's too much of a house.
Okay,
So we have
Ross,
said that
Ross,
we will actually talk to the residents about the bin situation.
Okay.
Overall.
So we would need one in Castlefield.
Or possibly, or
yeah.
provide another one, but obviously if we provide another one, there's something cost to the village.
Is that, I don't know what it was.
But I'll bring the cost with you, but I'll get the residents that are affected around there and we'll work out that.
If it's got to do massively expensive, it makes sense to have an additional one rather than.
But we have to probably make that when we're doing it to.
Okay.
So here's the.
Ross.
Ross. Yeah, I get that, yes, it is.
Yeah, so we want to do something for that.
Yes.
We want to do something.
Oh, just a minute. Russell just wanted to say, Russell, Sorry, I haven't been picking you up.
No, I've been trying to say that the sound was not very good, and I could barely make out what anybody from the floor was saying. Unfortunately, I can
I still can't hear you, Russell.
based on your responses, though, I could imagine what it was.
Yeah, put it in a chat or something. I can't.
No, Steve, the dog bin's in part two.
Oh, don't be.
Cheryl wants to speak on.
Right.
So that's the need to stuff.
Sorry, Russell. We just couldn't hear you. I saw you'd unmuted, but we just couldn't hear you at all.
I did have my hand up. Yeah, it's just for anybody else that anyone else that needs to speak from the floor.
Okay. All right. Bye, Cheryl. Bye now. Right. Let's move to the clerk's report next. Then. Oh, sorry. Sorry. What is this?
Part one. The further,
Oh, the further. Yeah. Okay. Right. Clerk's report then. Let's deal with that. First of all, are there any matters on items 1 to 9 that anyone wants to raise?
I wrote something for item 12.
12.
The ongoing saga of the areas at the top of Carrington Road, going into, what is it? I've got already, Paddock Close? No.
Harrington Grove.
Carrington Road, anyway. The two areas there, they've actually cut them back without the sponging
Oh,
out it.
yeah, I saw that.
And
Not a lot of into that. And they've come, we have the gate.
they really haven't got, the fence is still a bit wonky, but
Yeah.
so it does appear that is now on the schedule for those two areas.
Must be having a lot of meetings.
I'm not the door of the guy who complained about the trees overgrowing on the other side of the road. And said, oh, did they get your trees back? He said, no, I had to do that. So, but they are at least doing something.
Sorry, is that the Paddock Close side?
That's Paddock Close side, yeah.
So can I take item 12 off now?
Well, we've still got that area at the bottom of Carrington Road where it's all big weeds, and they're just going to come back, and that's just going to grow and grow to be a very nasty kind of overgrown areas. So I haven't quite finished with them on that.
Okay. So leave that bit for it. Okay.
But just know that they've partially done.
Well, I should take the credit for the win anyway, Steve. I mean, anything else? And highways, dear oh dear. I mean, I had a
Station Road today closed. No, it's not.
Milton Keynes. There is a new lady who is the interim highways operation manager, whose name is Nicolene.
Yeah.
Anyway, she gave a presentation to at the last Milton Keynes Association of Local Councils meeting, which I will circulate the slides to you, but I mean, they are fairly generic. But the important point is she did seem to be much more accessible than Graham Cox, who is still in post, but is, I believe, focused on the new outsourcing contract. I almost wonder about sending this to Nicolene, this list of the 80, I think there's 18 points on there under highways that we've got now.
Yeah. I mean, they have responded on some of them.
Yeah, but I mean, even then, some of it is not very good. I mean, things like, you know, I know they're given a response that, you know, they'll change over the lights in the conservation area to LED when funds permit. I mean, can I ask them, do you know of any other parish that hasn't had its lights converted? Because we were right at the end of the queue.
No, I thought most of them have been done.
Yeah.
No, I can chase up in my next meeting with them because it does seem a bit strange.
Yeah. And it was, I have to say, the response, well, we'll do it when we've got money. given in this financial environment, that's like never. But if you just, as you drive through the village, I mean, it's very easy to tell. The orange ones are the ones that haven't been converted,
Yeah.
you know, and it's almost random as well. Anyway, but so I just wonder, I mean, I'm thinking about writing Nicola. Apparently, Richard Pryor from Havisham had her on. She was quite helpful with him. So I don't know, what do you think?
I've not really spoken so much, to be honest. I normally go for Graham.
You get a good response, I'm sure. I mean, and by the way, I saw reading this tonight, Jackie has been taking up the flooding down at the cattle grid,
Yeah.
with Luke Stacey. And Luke Stacey says the problem is actually the drains which are blocked, which are causing it backing up to the cattle grid, not the other way around.
Which
Yeah.
a resident actually did report the drains and they said, no, it's nothing to do with us.
Well, yes, I mean, that was that Judith Goodyear? Yeah. But I mean, I went down, I photographed it and sent it to Liam. And
I showed that photograph to Graham. And he suggested that it would have been because the drain just couldn't cope with the amount of water. It filled up with all the mess straight away, and it had been cleaned. Is what he said.
well, I mean, he just lives in an alternate universe. I mean, he just does, because Judith went out and spoke to the operative, and he said, no, we're not doing it. He gave some silly reason to her. But actually, I don't care. Even if it was done, it is now blocked and is causing a risk to flooding. All right, well, I'll give some thought to this. And also, by the way, why was the 40-mile-an-hour buffer zone put on hold because of the 20-mile-an-hour zone?
Because he said if the whole village becomes a 20-mile-an-hour zone, something would have to be done. You can't have us 60 going to a 20.
That's right.
So something would be done naturally at that point anyway.
Who said that?
Keith Wheeler.
Keith Wheeler, yes. I mean, that is correct. Yeah, okay. All right, well, we'll think about those. Anything else on the highways or Clerk's report?
Yeah,
Okay.
I reported.
Councillors, let's have a lighter topic.
I was going to mention the
Phil.
issue. Chris had to work late, but he sent me just saying he's not had any response yet on the roads leading to the navigation. He's chasing it and trying to get a response on the mess that they are. We actually had a roads maintenance meeting with Andy Dickinson from the council before full council a couple of weeks ago, where they were telling us all about the requirements for fixing roads. So it's now not just on how deep the pothole is, it's how often the road gets used, what the speed of cars are likely to be going down that road. So it's a lot more complicated. So you're not just going to get you can no longer go, well, that's definitely going to get fixed straight away, because
it sounds like an excuse not to fix, doesn't it?
So that,
I mean,
as in which,
as in that the public know that is their stance.
I think they said they're going to send us stuff.
is this a government guidance or is this their guidance?
I don't actually know.
Because I mean, that is quite. Incidentally, could we add? I'm not sure if it's on the list. On the Milton Keynes side of the bridges, where you have to pull in if there's an oncoming vehicle going out of the village, it's a crater.
They are right.
Yeah.
There's
And-
quite a few of those.
Yeah.
It's not just there.
Well,
What else?
yeah, that's right, and that really does need to go on the list. I'll try and report it myself, and then you can chase it up, but it needs to go on the highways list. Well, I actually think getting Nicolene out and walk around might be.
Apparently they check every road once a year for potholes.
Don't really.
They said that they have, I think it was 100% hit rate on checking every road.
Yeah, well,
But yeah, obviously over a winter it can change.
Yeah, but it's still there and it's all right.
Yeah.
yeah.
Is it on the map?
Yeah.
Google Maps.
Away from highways, transport, there's going to be a new trial for MK Connect. Where it's not going to affect Castlethorpe at this point, but in places like Stoke Goldington now, rather than getting an MK Connect directly from your door to wherever you want to go, they're picking you up, taking you to a drop-off point, which for the trial is Newport Pagnell, then you would get a bus to your next destination. This is their solution to lack of people using the buses.
They never did go to your door, did they?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah,
They would go quite close, yeah.
I thought the councils will only pick up at Muslims. That's what I've been told.
No, I know one resident who gets picked up from her home.
Yeah.
I've seen them in the check-in.
Yeah, in the Checkers actually, was where the resident I was thinking of is, yeah.
and then the last thing was going to be the new city plan. But I know that's on the agenda as well. So just very briefly, we had a planning cabinet management group meeting about it the other day. And I asked the leader of the council whether we will get another update on, because I think at the meeting last month we were told that they were doing the final selection of all the potential sites, and they update us in March on which ones would like to go forward. That's now not happening. Because they haven't met the developers yet.
Councillor Council put out a new yesterday on Facebook page. Yeah, and it's so Hounslow, 1,400 to 2,700 new houses maybe. So if you think that road's bad now, can you imagine? what
Yeah,
that
there's,
gets you like?
okay, yeah.
Yeah, that was the one that was in the
Yeah.
meeting that we went,
Yeah.
yeah. But they were meant to be narrowing it down for us in March, but we were told that can't happen now. So I did ask for another update because I was worried that we wouldn't see anything now until the draft plan gets published in June, and whether they throw in the massive MK North expansion into that. Pete Marlin did say MK North will be ruled out by that point.
Yeah.
So we can take his word for that.
I did, just to give you some amusement, you know, about a week ago, there was very, very heavy flooding in Havisham.
Yep.
And the news was right up. And I stopped at the bridge I actually stopped and parked safely and then walked to the bridge and took photographs of both sides of it. And then I wrote to Andrew Turner with the photographs. And I said, you are now going to have to build a very long bridge if you want to get across the Ouse to Milton Keynes North.
Yeah.
But if you need some help, Richard Pryor and I are prepared to offer a ferry service. I haven't had a reply.
I'm sure.
Yeah. But I mean, I am hoping that Milton Keynes North is less likely. But remember, there are two schemes. Shall we come back to this on you?
Yeah.
Anything else that you want to
No,
raise?
that's it.
All right, let's move on. Village group.
So I chased and gave out forms and didn't get them back, and yeah, anyway, so but I have got 143 forms back,
Good Lord.
of which 89 and hopefully 90 tomorrow are 20 years plus use, which I think is not bad. That's about nearly 11% of people have actually given me a form of 20 years plus. I had an appointment, well, not an appointment, but I dropped off the forms to the solicitors last Monday, Asha, and she's going to look through them, but she's already said that they look really organised. I'm just aiming to be tempted, to be honest. I've got a spreadsheet which is colour coded and everything with the details on it. So I've shared that with her. I've also got video footage, photos that I've given her of the people in the field, not just the field, because I feel that's fairly useless, and some digital forms as well. So, and they've just filled it in, which is really, really nice. But if there is any more, obviously, of 20 years plus, especially, that would be lovely, because there are
lots of people asked, oh, can I have 6 forms? Can I have some more? And then I didn't get any of them back, which I find quite frustrating.
I think you've done a fantastic job, Kate, and I think, we all owe you thanks for that,
I just feel that Gobbies is, I know that they're going to build on places, but Gobbies is, I think, a particular special case because it does have a right of way and it has been used by generations of people. And for me, it's like Castlethorpe's safe space. There is nowhere else that we can use to go and like let your dog run around or let your kids run around and all this. So to me, it is very special.
What's the next steps then?
So Ashley's going to let me know sort of how the forms are, but she said they're really detailed and I've checked everything to make sure they're signed and stuff like that, so they're filled in properly. And then she will submit them to Milton Keynes Council. And I have said that I want this done fairly urgently because of the sort of bringing land forward and things like that in June. And so I'm just waiting to hear from her now.
Okay.
I've got another one I've got to drop off, which somebody gave me Tuesday, which
Okay.
drop them.
That was one of my findings. Right, thank you very much for that. If we can now, are we finished on? Yes, right, if we can just look at the planning applications. And when we come to resolutions, I'll bring yours forward so you can get away, but we have to do this bit in this order. The first planning application is 3 Lodge Farm Court, which is the replacement of these French doors and windows. Does anyone have any comments on that? I mean, to be honest, I looked at it and I mean, they are pen drawings rather than, oh, wait a minute, there's Russell. But can Russell speak? Can we hear you, Russell?
Can you hear me?
No.
Right.
Can you type a message into the chat? I think it's called.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I will be on, while he's just doing that. I mean, I looked at the pen drawings, and to be honest, I couldn't really see that there was any big impact on it. But Russell may have got a different view. Oops. Where do I get the chat on this? I don't have any objections, but I doubt the conservation officer will allow aluminium to replace wood. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Russell. I think this is down to conservation. It's a listed building consent originally. Anyway, we're not making any objections here, so no objection.
Can't we draw it to your attention, make sure the conservation officer does consider that? Or do we want
I'm
to?
sure they will.
I will leave it to do it.
I leave it, yeah.
Not going to listen to it like that, is it?
5.2 is a tree preservation order 49 Shepperton Close. I apologise for misleading people earlier in the month when that came out, and I thought it referred to the second tree that had been removed. This one, I still found it very difficult actually to follow the application. But this one had a subsequent aerial survey after the arborologist report, and it was a diseased tree. And so, does anyone have any objections to this? No. Okay. And discharge of conditions at Cosgrove Park. I mean, we again don't normally comment on these. They're picked up by building control and planning. Any comments? No, okay. Right. Can we now just discuss the late entry that has come in at 33 North Street for the removal of 3 toilets? Now, I have to say, I'm not sure if I do need to declare an interest. I can see these from my house, but they're not a neighbour.
No,
I must say I was a little bit disappointed here because the reason for removing trees is when they're diseased. and they're supported by an arborologist's report saying this tree is just as the one we've just discussed. This one is because in one case, some of the branches go into the neighbouring property, and in the other case, because it's near to a neighbouring property, there's two trees, and there's no indication that either of these trees are unhealthy in any way, and I personally think would be a great pity to remove. I mean, it's almost an arbitrary removal of the trees, to be honest.
Arboretum. I agree. But process, if we make a decision here without it having been on the agenda, I think people are quite within their rights to object to that. So, I mean, I know it's a pain and that, but I think if we really want to object, we ought to have a quick extraordinary meeting.
Okay. No, it's got to have 3 clear days
But
before it's done.
the thing is that if we make any decisions that affect anyone or anything in the village,
Well,
then people have the right to actually see that we're about to make that decision.
let's be clear. This is not a decision. This is a response to a consultation, which we can do as individual. In fact, what Jackie could do is to say that this was too late for our agenda. The expiry date is too far before, so she has consulted councillors, and in the councillors' opinion,
Yeah, we did pass that motion.
and right, Russell has just said, I suggest we ask the MKC tree officer to look into this, expressing our concerns. Well, we could certainly have that as part of the recommendation, but I personally think that we should come from a starting point that it is a great pity to take down healthy trees without an arborologist.
I agree. It's more than pity. It's
Yeah.
Can I ask, have they just moved there, or have they been?
Yeah. It's Chris and Becky Hall's house.
Doing the gardens.
Yeah, it's the bottom of the garden. It's not going to affect their house. The roots aren't going to affect.
So I presume they've been intruding into next door's garden for quite some time.
Probably about 50 years.
yeah. Okay, well,
So what are we going to do? We're going to say to Jackie that, having consulted with councillors, we would not wish to see healthy trees removed without an arborologist report, and request that a tree officer looks into this.
yeah,
before any decision is made.
that way
That's fair as well.
yeah, that way we're not actually kind of making a decision, yay or nay.
Well, wait a minute, Russell's waving again. An arborologist will report that there are spurious valid reasons to black up their client.
Well, the Milton Keynes Council's arborologists shouldn't, their own arborologists might.
Yeah, well, we would ask the Milton Keynes arborologist to inspect a tree.
So you've got to trust the Milton Keynes Council arborologist.
Yeah, and I do, actually.
Yeah, actually, that's one department,
Yeah.
they are pretty good.
Yeah. Okay, so we'd ask the Milton Keynes arborologist to inspect it, yeah? Yeah, I know you are, Russell, yeah. Right. Any comments on section 6?
No.
No,
I was doing
I mean, obviously 6.1 is
6.1, big no.
is the
Warehouses.
is the warehouses.
Huge no.
Well, yes, we've done that.
Hasn't that been withdrawn? Or is that dreaming?
No, you're dreaming.
There's a whole time.
Well, look, I'll tell you what, this is yours, isn't it? So why don't we adjourn the meeting and listen to 9.1, which is the request from your group for further support. I think you sent a note, and I mean, if I'm very crudely summarising, you're saying thank you very much. We've done a great deal of work. We need to do more. Can we have some more?
That is a summary. I would also like to just really say thank you very much on behalf of the objection group. We really do appreciate council donating to the work that we've been doing. And having heard obviously the conversations here this evening, I know you've got other funds or budgets that your funds are needed for. So really just wanted to talk to you a little bit about what we've been doing and other ways that perhaps the parish council might be able to help us. And we are trying to attend all of the parish councils in the area.
Could I possibly ask you to pull yourself forward a bit more, because this is being live streamed, so, and there's usually about 50 people watch the YouTube over the course of the month, and they'll be able to hear you better if you're
Manner.
there we go.
Asking for help financially. We wondered whether there were other things that you could help us with, like, for example, if you have a newsletter, whether we could put an update in.
Yeah.
So we do a monthly update, which we publish on our website, and it also goes in the old mail, which goes to Cosgrove, and
No, sorry, Russell is saying he still can't hear you actually, so I don't know if you could perhaps speak. You haven't got much voice.
Worst person in the group.
Yeah, you just pull yourself right up close, and then I can hear your voice is not that
Do you want
loud.
me to say, do you want me to tell him what you just
You
said?
can do, yeah.
Well, no, it's
Yeah.
can't hear. So, Russell, you've just said that they've been obviously doing a lot of fundraising, and understands that we have commitments, but I wondered what else we could be doing. So, putting things in Castlethorpe News, publicising actually, this sort of thing. I mean, obviously it's all over Facebook, and we share onto the group and the Castlethorpe group as well. But if there's anything else that we could be doing to help.
And you obviously take individual contributions as well as.
Yeah, we have a crowdfunder.
yeah.
We've been doing our own fundraising. We've had events in Cosgrove and Stony Stratford, and we're trying to encourage other parish council or parishes to run their own events as well. We've got another one coming up in Cosgrove in April.
Did an amazing job, I have to say. Absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, and they can just look you up if they want to make, if our residents want to make a contribution.
Yeah,
Where
we
would
have
they
a
see your details?
crowdfunder. So we have a website, which is stop3000trucks.org, and there's a link to our crowdfunder on there.
Okay, so it's stop3000trucks.org.
Yeah.
And I think what residents need to realise is that, yes, okay, it's over there, but actually the traffic from it, I mean, I go out onto the 508 in the morning and it's already been backed up almost as far as the turning, the navigation. And on Monday last week, when I went onto there, it was the actual 508 was backed up from the A5 roundabout to that turning. And that traffic, that amount of pollution and that disruption to their everyday lives, even people from Hanslope, for instance, who use that road, it's going to cause ginormous problems all over the place, not just for Cosgrove. And I think that's what people forget. They think, oh, well, it's over there, it's out of our way, but it's really not.
I think that's true. And I think the other thing is that cars will divert through Castlethorpe and Hanslope to get off the A5 highway. Potholes will get even worse. I heard you mention that you have an AGM coming up, and we wondered whether we might be able to come along and talk to.
Annual parish meeting. Technically, it is resident speak, isn't it?
But it's.
Yes, yeah, I suppose we could do, yeah. Yeah. All right, okay, yeah.
One to consider. We're asking.
Yeah, that will be, we'll agree on, at the end of this meeting on the date. It'll either be the 8th or the 15th. We'll have, I need a bit of discussion about that, but yeah, okay.
And the other reason that we're always asking for money is we've discovered really expensive to try and challenge an application. We've been in touch with Week Forward, who are another campaign that have just had their warehouse proposal rejected in West Northants. They actually didn't go to Strategic Parish, to the Strategic Planning Council. It went straight to appeal. The developers brought an appeal, and the campaign group had to hire a King's Counsel to challenge it, which cost them in the region of £40,000. We're hoping that it's not going to come to that for us. We want to try and stop it before it gets to that stage, but we have already employed a hydrology consultant. He's done 2 reports for us to challenge the flood risk reports, and he found huge flaws. We also did a traffic review, and again, they did find flaws in the developers' reports. And we did an ecology review as well. And the ecology review has led to an objection from the Wildlife Trust, and also was mentioned in the Environment Agency's objection to the council as well. So we know that the work that we are doing is certainly delaying the proposals going ahead. It hasn't yet got a date to go to the planning committee. The other thing that we have just commissioned is a heritage asset report, and we wondered whether that might be of interest to Castlethorpe, particularly in the work that you're doing in the village green, whether that might have some help for you in terms of getting that application rejected as well. We haven't got that report back yet, but we know that there were a number of heritage assets that weren't included in our developers' proposals that should have been. So it might be of interest to Cosgrove Parish.
I mean, what I mean, if when you get the report, if you pass it to Kay, and then Kay can work with it. I would add that when we had a successful campaign against a wind turbine that was going to be put on down at Lodge Farm Business Centre. That was actually rejected because of heritage assets. So that is a very compelling reason in planning terms.
Yes, we're aware of that, and we have spoken to a resident in Castlethorpe who's given us that advice as well. So one of the reasons why we have employed a heritage consultant. So
I wonder who.
We will let you know when we get the report.
Okay. All right. So I'm sure Russell will be happy to publicise it on our social media. The editor of Castlethorpe News is on an email, castlethorpenews@gmail.com, isn't it? I think it's as simple as that. But I'm afraid, literally it's just gone through it. I mean, in fairness, the deadline was about 2 weeks ago, and it's been at printers, and I imagine it's going to come out for delivery in the next week or so.
I've had my email asking me to deliver.
I have.
The other thing I did wonder, I was mentioning about the old mail that goes to Cosgrove and Pottersbury and Paulsbury, and we publish a copy of that on the Cosgrove Village website. Whether there was any way of linking your website to the Cosgrove one.
Well, we'll ask that.
Just just send it to me.
Yeah, if you write to Russell, his email address is it's russell.forgem@castlethorpe-pc.gov.uk. But it's on our website. Or just talk to Kay, and Kay will link it in. Then Russell can see whether it's possible to put a link. I'm not quite sure whether we can. She can publicise it herself as stop. Oh, right, okay. So Russell's saying that Stop 3000 Trucks is a member of the Castlethorpe Facebook page, so you can publicise it directly there yourself. You can post, and he can do something on the website if that's useful. But to be honest, it does seem to be that Facebook gets the most hits, really.
So it is all over Facebook.
Okay. Anything else?
That was it. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Thank you very much.
Well, okay.
Anything you want me to have, just give it to Jo and she can pass on to me, Laura.
Right, okay, fine now. Right, so if we now move to section 7, I'm sorry to jump about a bit, but I think it's only courteous to give people a chance to speak rather than making them wait right the way through. Consider and agree to a public excluded part 2 to the meeting. Which already discussed, all in favour, yeah. Consider any actions arising from the presentation on the new city plan. I have put a note up following the meeting that we had at Hanslope on the 7th of February. And so that residents do understand what is being discussed here. Milton Keynes Council believes it needs to find land for 33,000 homes. One has to say this is because they're looking at a local plan that goes out to 2050, which I don't particularly want this to get political, but I mean, it is being challenged by the Conservative opposition, basically, isn't it? That it's necessary to go that far. And normally you don't write local plans for that long. I mean, normally it's 15 years. So you'd have expected 2040 to be the most. And who knows what's going to happen with housing demand over that period of time. I do think it is, personally, I think it is foolish to try and project forward in these uncertain times. However, that is what they are, the administration, and that's what they're pushing through. And they're now going through a series of sifting for sites. As Liam mentioned earlier, they've done the first sifting and they're now looking at a second sifting, which we were meant to get in March. What we are worried about is that we won't get a chance to comment on it until it goes out for public consultation. And once things are in public consultation, it does actually get quite difficult to change things or substantively change things. And indeed, if they are changed substantively, Milton Keynes Council, who are, in that Scottish word, frit of any kind of legal action at all, would worry about, you know, a developer taking them to court and saying, why have you removed our plan from your local plan? So there is this idea that there's going to be a development area called Milton Keynes North, which covers virtually all of Haversham, a good slug of Hanslope, and comes right up to the boundary of Castlethorpe at the dips. And that would just be solid housing, the whole lot. Now, can I just check? You were saying that the indications are that they're not favouring Milton Keynes North. Is that correct?
Yeah, the leaders, when I asked, he seemed to suggest it's very, very unlikely.
This was Pete.
Yes.
Pete. Okay. Good.
I mean, that's consistent with what that guy said in the presentation.
Yes. Yes. I mean, so it may not be that is the case, and in truth, you know, you can't argue with the laws of physics. You have to get across the U's, and it would be very expensive to do that. Now, having said that, there is another, as well as Milton Keynes North, there is another group of housing targets, which is called rural village settlement, sort of almost serendipity, you know, what they can find. And we know that developers and landowners have put forward 3 sites in Castlethorpe, which have been assessed at providing between 115 and 190 new houses. Now, we were expecting to get that shared with us in early March. What Liam has just said is that doesn't look as if it's going to be the case now. One of the questions I did ask at Hanslope was whether we would have a chance to vote, basically, on which, you know, if they said you've got to take so many houses, could we then have a vote? as to which house we wanted, which is the normal practice with neighbourhood plans. I mean, I've seen it in Newport Pagnell, I've seen it in Oney. And the answer was no, this is a local plan and you get what you're given. So that will be something we have to worry about. And I think we do need to try and take some action on that. Now, on that, I mean, there are various groups that are trying to object to it. I had a phone call from Peter Gearing, actually, who was trying to organise opposition generally to the new city plan, and in particular about the longevity of it going out to 2050. I know that Richard Pryor and Alison Andrew are looking at trying to object to Milton Keynes North, but I've got a feeling we're going to be on our own when it comes to dealing with the 3 sites that are being put forward in Castlethorpe.
Hanslope as well.
Sorry?
Hanslope.
Oh no, Hanslope have got as well, but I mean,
Yeah,
you see what I mean? That
in the rural non-strategic.
Yeah, but I think the individual, yeah, I'll come to you in a moment. Okay. I think the individual villages will probably have to make their own objections that we can't expect Hanslope to be weighing in as to why Gobbis shouldn't be built on, or
No, but they've
why,
got 16 sites that they're.
yeah, and they will object to those. And actually, if you think about it, the more they object to theirs, and if they make tangible objections, it might move to say, oh, we'll come to Castlethorpe instead. And similarly with Havisham. So, and of course, this plays into this kind of beggar thy neighbour approach that I'm sure Milton Keynes Council would love to see there. So we do have to think about how we're going to do this. I am hoping to talk to Richard again fairly soon. But again, he may be more addressing Milton Keynes North than the sites in Castlethorpe.
I don't think, well, there are no sites nominated under the rural non-strategic label for Havisham.
Sure, no,
There are none.
there's a whole lot.
It's all tied into.
Okay,
So on the slides, it says northern options, and it's got MK North full, MK North reduced.
yeah,
And there are key issues for both of those,
yeah.
and then no key issues for the rural villages section, which I find a little bit concerning, because it says rural Hanslope, 14 sites, 14,000.
No, they're just assessing, they're just, if you are going to build either the Milton Keynes North or the Milton Keynes North Extended, you are going to have to put significant infrastructure to come across the Ouse. Okay, hence my joke about providing a ferry service.
Yeah, like I said about the
Now,
yeah.
now, if you are talking about individual sites,
Yeah.
those are non-strategic sites, and they won't take account of those strategic issues. I mean, you'd look at Hanslope, poor old Hanslope has had 500 houses, which is virtually 50% increase. With no increase in infrastructure, and because they were individually regarded as non-strategic, and that's the same issue that we would face here.
Do we know which sites have been put forward? For
No, I could take a guess, but I'm not prepared to do that publicly.
Well, I can take a guess as well.
Yeah.
In the same field.
Yeah.
A couple of things,
two of them.
because it's the breaking point. Firstly, they label rural non-strategic as a category for consideration. Given that it's non-strategic, surely that means that the neighbourhood plan takes priority over non-strategic.
Well,
Carrington, sorry.
I think it's using the word strategic in different contexts, actually.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think we should.
If the local plan designates a site for development, then that will take precedence over a neighbourhood plan. A neighbourhood plan does indeed take precedence on non-strategic issues, but that tends not to be things like the allocation of land for development. It's like things like, are you going to have heritage style lampposts or?
Well, they shouldn't use the words non-strategic.
Well, there you go.
But the other thing is, and this is sort of thrown out, I guess, at William as much as anyone. The rural allocation, the presentation we had, Dave, I can't remember, I've not got the slide in front of me, but the slide in front of me said virtually everything that was in the category rural non-strategic was coming from Hanslope and Castlethorpe. They were very ill. Does that mean that nothing else, no other rural communities in Milton Keynes are giving up any development under the category rural non-strategic?
I don't know, actually.
Because if that's the case, then something badly wrong.
Yeah.
Well, look, I mean, we're all very exercised about it, and we could talk a lot on it. I think, you know, we've laid out the issues so that anyone who's watching will understand.
But I think you're right. I think obviously Richard Pryor is more concerned about the northern development, and
Yeah,
you know, he might not be quite so exercised when it comes to if the northern development is sort of slowing down.
yeah. I mean, there may well be non-strategic sites put forward in Havisham as well, but they're just in that they're just subsumed, you know. But anyway, let's not go there. All right, so we've laid it out. There is an issue,
Well,
and we may have.
I'd like to know there, but separate to this, because I want the question answered. And can I ask these last questions about the? Can I email them and will I get an answer
What
to the questions about their presentation?
I don't know if you get an answer. You can ask me if you want to ask questions to me, and I can raise.
Okay.
You can try, but I don't.
I'll send you the questions.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. All right. Let's move on then. 7.3 is just updating the authorisation. Actually, this is a bit embarrassing because three of us are here, aren't there?
Yes.
But it's
Actually, yeah, we should have declared an interest, really, shouldn't we?
well, you quite often delegate authority within ourselves,
Well,
don't we?
we've got three of us voting
Yeah.
voting to give authority to the three of us to
There is
Authorise one.
A as well. I mean, essentially what this is, we do need to refresh the delegated authority. As I said, I think it does need to go up to 7 point, what did I say? 7 point.
We said 7.5, didn't we?
7,500, yeah. Which is the 5,000 that we've currently got. 7.5 would actually allow us up to 1,000 for a street light as well. And I just think that you know, we may have to make some reasonably quick decisions over the next month, as we're, particularly as HICPA's may be off, you know, starting to leave sight by the time we have our next meeting. So that is what I think. I mean, obviously, Jackie can make those decisions, but normally it is we prefer to do the delegation ourselves. I'm not really very comfortable, given that.
No, given that, I think we left the room when we voted to give ourselves authority to 5,000.
Did we?
Yeah, we did. I'm sure we did.
No, that was to sign the lease. That was the lease.
Oh, was it the lease?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's
Anyway, well, shall we do this anyway? Because
Yeah.
we need to, yeah. All in favour? Yeah, okay. Right, next one is the monkey challenge. Is this you? Okay.
It's not really me, I'm just recording it because it looks like might be a nice thing for the village because they say that they actually get funding for it and everything, so.
will they get us a grant to pay for our lots?
Well, that's, if you look at it, it says
Yeah,
that
I did have a
it's
look.
fully funded, so,
Yeah.
and they would actually.
There
get-
is no
they-
fee.
Yeah, so surely it would be worth looking at, I don't know, that, not time, not me personally, because I.
When did it, well,
And it was quite a while ago now, it's been.
yeah, it's come through and I've had repeat emails as well. Where did we say it was going to go? Down at the,
I think fish ponds.
Fish ponds,
but it's too old, if you like. It's an older catchment for kids down at the island, so it would have to
Yeah.
be fish
But
ponds.
if it's fish ponds, don't we need an archaeologist?
well, it will do, but that would have to be funded by the grant.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if we made a decision, sorry?
Or on the
Or
sports
sports
field.
field, yeah.
Well, there really isn't an awful lot of space
No,
out there.
there's
Where are
not.
you going to put it?
Okay.
Well, if you put it between Thrupp and the door, you tell me.
Well, I mean, put the screaming children between, between the clubhouse and Clubhouse.
The other side.
That will go down, that will go down very well.
I'm not allowed to put it along that edge between.
This is actually being live streamed. Look, I think the fish ponds is the logical place. Could we ask, Jackie, if you could start making inquiries
Yeah.
now and take this on and see what it is?
Yeah, a bit
I
more,
mean, if it is,
there is something.
yeah, if it is really fully funded, then obviously why look a gift horse in the mouth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's match funding, I mean, putting it bluntly, we just don't have the money.
It's fair enough.
Okay. Good. To consider organising a survey of residents to see if there's support to implement a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. Whose is this? Who put this forward?
That came from the highways list.
But who's sponsoring this as a
Oh,
council?
I see. I don't know, I assumed you were.
I think it's you, isn't it?
I think
It's
no.
20 mile an hour thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was
It's an
you.
old thing. It's not-
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've not. I mean, this will make me very unpopular. I mean, I'm not actually that keen on putting these things right across villages.
No.
I'm not sure it makes a big difference what
I'm-
you come into the village and
No,
right and literally go about 50 mile an hour over
I mean,
20 mile an hour.
most of the village, you can't, if you're a normal sane driver, you can't do more than 20 miles an hour. You can't, you're coming round by the church,
Yeah.
coming through the build outs on Station Road.
I think there are people determined to actually prove you different at that.
That's right. No. I said normal sane driver.
Yeah.
But if you have people who are, and even Bullington End Road, you know, by the time you come onto the
Yeah.
parked vehicles, you know, you're, now people will drive dangerously, but I mean, I think they'll drive dangerously, whether it's 20 or 30
Yeah.
miles an hour.
That makes a
And
difference.
I'm not, I think I'd rather see someone else who's passionate about this make the case, because I don't really feel that I can.
What isn't 20 at the moment?
Bullington, Station Road,
Just about everywhere.
Hanslope Road.
Yeah.
Basically everywhere apart from the middle of the village, so
Yeah.
North Street, South Street, South Street,
Yeah.
is that 20?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
North Street, South Street, and actually, ironically, Maltingsfield is as well.
Yeah.
Where you can get up to
Yeah.
60
Yeah.
really easily.
And that only is because I wanted to get rid of the signage that they'd stuck in front of somebody's window that was limiting
Yeah.
whether it was 20 or 30, and somebody complained to me, and
The 20 mile an hour on the floor on start of North Street as you come in by the bus stop, that is shot, basically, you can hardly see it now, it's so faded and worn away. So the one on the road, and you
Yeah.
can't see the 20, the other one 20.
yeah,
miles,
can we
it's
have
not-
that faded, yeah. Anyway, so we're going to put this off until we can find a councillor who's prepared to champion it. And let me just, so Russell's saying he's in favour but can't vote. Well, yeah, I do understand that, Russell, but we need someone here who's going to champion it, so we can defer. If
Well,
the councillor wants
Well, you
to.
know, if precedent's acceptable, we can agree that. we go
Yeah, but
forward
it does
with
mean
Russell's-
sorting out, I mean, Russell's is heavily committed on these grants as
Yeah, I
well at the
know.
moment.
No,
And
Can we not defer?
yeah, I think we should
Okay,
defer it.
defer it.
Yeah, I think
But-
defer it.
We've got to
Yeah.
that first of all.
Yeah. Okay.
Have we got the applicant?
No.
It's just, right, discussing problems with excess water around the village.
I firmly blame this on Station Yard, I'm sorry, that like actually Ian said, that culvert is, they're built on it and put concrete in it, and now it's causing major problems. I've never seen water as bad as it has been in the village, because it's just got nowhere to go now, and it's causing major problems. I know there is a broken drain in Castlefield, which you've got on part 2, I saw, yeah. But I don't know what retrospectively we can do to solve this problem, because
Well,
just
I mean, the thing is, Kay, where was the water? There was a lot of water here on North Street, which can't be to do with Station Yard because it's above it.
No, I think that came from, okay, I think that, well, that was definitely running off Castle Field.
Yeah.
It was literally running down there.
Yeah.
But,
Now, I mean, I did look at that pipe with Jackie,
Yeah.
and I'm not convinced that the water would have come out of that pipe, but in any case, somehow or other, we'll get that fixed. But that is above station yard. There was a lot of water in other parts of, well, going out onto Wolverton Road, there was a lot of water. Obviously, there was water down at Station Road, which was to do with probably these block gullies that we've been talked about earlier. There's a lot of water up by Bullington End. Now, I did raise this with Nicolina, and basically, in some of these cases, it is down to the ditches not being cleared. And the ditches are the responsibilities of the farmers. And Nicolina basically said, you know, that if there is water, we need to report it. And when it's reported, they will then speak to the appropriate farmer. And if they don't clear it, then Milton Keynes Council will have it cleared and invoice the farmer. And I can only say that I think that's what we need to do. I'm not sure where the station yard, what manifests, because what would happen with station yard?
drains go, but
Well, it goes into the stream that runs down the side of Gobbers Field.
yeah, where does it all come from? I mean, where
Well, it all comes from it. I mean, as far as I know, the start point is the field above the sports ground.
Right.
And it's a field drain that runs under the sports ground, under Castle Field, where it's got broken, which I find amazing, but anyway. It then runs under the road. Now, what I can't quite understand, I wish Ian was here because he'd know where it goes.
Yes,
But it comes down by the shop, and then somehow it must then pick up. I thought it came under Castle House, which doesn't gel, you know, two don't
Okay,
meet,
so
and then goes under the road and into the brick culvert on the other side, and then
maybe
into
we need to
God's.
defer this until the end of the,
Yeah.
and then we've actually got somebody
Yeah.
who knows.
All I can say is, you know, what Nicolina said was, if there is flooding, you see flooding, report it to the local flood authority, which is Milton Keynes Council, I think.
Ironically, the only thing that hasn't flooded is one chestnut.
Yeah, I thought.
There is literally been no water against that since it's been in.
I thought it
Oh,
was.
isn't it? Oh, no, it's been in for a
It's been
while.
in for about
Yeah.
at least 6 months.
Anyway, right, very good.
So
and
are we deferring that, sorry?
Yeah.
Well, yes, we're just saying we'll carry it forward, but if there is any water on the road, would councillors or residents please report it to Milton Keynes Council? I think on the reported system there is a thing for flooding and reporting. To consider engaging with the Play Association to provide play sessions over the school holidays. Now, looking at that, it is very good, but it is quite expensive.
I was wondering what Will Ganson's might have in their budget.
Not enough for this.
No, I mean, there's 500 quid is for the 2 hour one, isn't
Yeah. But you know, how many sessions you're not going to have just one
it?
session?
No, you'll have 1 2 hour session for that.
Sorry?
We'll just get 1 2 hour
Yes,
session.
exactly, yeah. Yeah.
But
They run these in Campbell Park and places like that, though.
I have a feeling that Hanslope is it subscribes to this. I think when this first came up.
They used to, definitely, because I used to. take
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's the times in 3 to 6, I think, though, as well.
I'm sorry.
3 to 6, that's
Yeah,
what we
school.
wait for Liam to go to, so.
The after school
And
provision.
then he goes, yeah, he's gone and climbed over a bus and stuff before, so.
But I mean, you'd be talking about over the, well, having 4 of these sessions, I mean, talking about £2,000.
Oh, we can't afford that.
I mean, the only thing I could say is, Wolf Henslow, consider making us a proposal, to allow some of our children to go up there, and we would, you know, perhaps make a contribution to their cost, because they'll have
I think
to.
you can go there anyway.
Yeah.
What's the limit on the
Yeah.
number of children? Do we know, per session?
I don't know.
Because
Doesn't say.
there's a lot of children on them, certainly.
Yeah, because when Liam's done it, it's been taken from the school, they do it at the rec.
No, this is in the school holidays.
Yeah.
They run the school club.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
School
yes,
club,
this
yes.
is, when it's,
Well, is this something that Nikki's does, or?
No, it's full part 3 to 6, so that's
No.
what is the, Hounslow
Club.
holiday club and after school club and stuff. But yeah, this is all tied in, and then
Right.
there's certain days when you pay additional fees. So it's flat fee just to be at school for the day, and then sometimes if there's activities going on, you pay additional for the day. Must tie in with this.
Anyway, it's a bit of shrinkflation here. They reduce the size of the session to keep the costs low. I don't mind if you had a word with Jill just to see what the situation is. Liam,
If you do need a more budget support, we can offer our 500 as usual for that, if that'd be helpful as well.
I mean, 12 session.
hmm?
12 one session. Would that not be?
Yeah.
Should we not?
Well, look.
That if they was offering 500 quid?
Yeah.
We might. Yeah. Why not talk to Jill? Excuse me. Why not talk to Jill? See if we can, you know, join in with their sessions if they've got sessions every week, for example, over the summer holidays. And if necessary, and they want a contribution, we could perhaps use the ward councillors' money to do that. If they say no, that's not possible because they've got too many children or whatever, then we could look on putting on perhaps a couple of sessions, one funded by ward councillors and one I'm sure we could afford to fund one. But
It'd be interesting to know how many children, because that helps really, is to sort of like whether it's worth it or not, you know, if they're going to provide for 10 kids or something, then that's not really feasible. Well, but they said 142 play events, which free access play for up to 100, so 14,200 kids.
yeah,
So if you do the maths, then that's £100 kids per session, surely.
Is there any deadline for this?
well, it doesn't seem to say that there is a deadline, but
I would imagine
okay,
it-
well, look. Shall we leave it like that? We'll have a first discussion with Hounslow, see if we can do anything with them. Might even be worth asking Maria at Havisham if they're doing anything as well.
Also need to be
Work with our neighbours, basically.
to make it feasible.
Havisham actually do have a problem with grounds, don't they? I'm not sure how much space they.
Oh, they shouldn't, but
I suppose it's school holidays. It's school. Yeah, they have to go on the school playing field. Yeah.
I mean, that would give them plenty of room, yes.
Anyway, let's do
Yeah.
that, and then we'll make a decision next time as to whether we go forward.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, right, we now come on to the payment schedule. Now, this is the largest payment schedule that the parish council will ever have countenanced. We've never done this. The total is £164,000. Never in the field of human endeavour has Castlethorpe ever done this. And in order to do that, we are of course having to bring in money from the CCLA deposit account and also the S106 money, which is coming in as well. But to help you with that, I did put as a PDF the current cash forecast,
Yeah.
going right through to the end of this financial year. And you can see, let me just pull that up. You can see that it all, you know, does pan out. You can see where the money is coming from and how it's going out. I mean, I'm ever so nervous about all of this because these are huge sums of money that are coming in and coming out. We just got to make sure they come in and go out at the right points of time. But you know, to the best of my ability, and this is updated as of a couple of days ago, when Jackie and I were working out what needed to go on the payment schedule. So there we go.
An archaeologist stand.
Sorry?
1,600 quid for an archaeologist to stand there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So any questions on this?
No.
All right. In that case, I'll propose. I need a seconder. Steve, and all in favour. Yeah. So unanimous. And you noticed the transfers at the bottom that you can see there, the S106 and so on. Yeah.
When do we expect to be paying for this?
The lamppost. What the £1,000?
No, the very.
We don't know.
We haven't had a.
Have they even answered you about?
No. I'm still waiting for the Steel Profit to agree the meeting.
Don't finish yet.
Haven't finished yet, no. Okay, can you sign those, please? Right.
So I want to be honest. What they approved, the second approved it.
Yeah, second approved, yeah. So moving on then, 9.1 we've dealt with. 9.2 is a request from Sustrand to provide a letter of support for their application for drainage work on the cycle track. They do point out in their covering letter that this is the drainage, which is, I believe, a planning condition of the cycle track improvements, and they're just asking for a letter of support.
Yeah.
Okay, all in favour. Are you okay doing that, Jackie, or do you, if you want?
You know,
Unequivocal support for that.
Sorry? Yeah. Any other business for noting or including on the future agenda? Right, dates and attendance for, Russell. I'm in favour of the previous one, but not this. I keep missing Russell. I have a query about the village hall gas. Are we being charged twice for the same gas? Don't bother with the gas query. Okay, all right. Right. Can I just check? Is everyone here on the 8th of April?
I'm not.
You're not.
I think so.
I am not expecting to be here. Because it's half term and I'm away with the family. And I was just wondering whether we are likely to be poor at, or whether we should move it to the 15th.
Well, I will be silent. I'm off for 4 weeks.
Yeah, well, I will be back on the 15th.
Right.
And the thing about moving it on is that the May meeting is not until the 13th. So it's actually still 4 weeks between meetings if we were to do that. The alternatives, if we stay with the 8th, is either I drive back for the evening to do it, and it is the annual parish meeting, or I just give it to Russell as vice chair to deal with. But what is the feeling?
15th.
Yeah.
15th is fine. Okay. All right. Yeah, that would suit me. And
Yeah.
you're indifferent.
No, I'm in
Right,
the meeting.
Okay, so everyone, so the next meeting will be the 15th of April. And that will be the annual parish meeting. The annual parish meeting has lost a lot of the weight that it used to have certainly when I first started, when we used to have speakers from all of the different groups in the village. Because of the rise of social media, people keep up to date a lot more quickly now. So my proposal is that there will be a chair's report on what has happened in the last year. And then any community group that wishes to speak may speak, but you do have to be here to do it. I don't want a script given to me to read out because that's very dead, and I can't answer any of the questions that might get asked. So we'll do that if that's agreeable to councillors. Just a word of warning: as your first annual parish meeting, Jackie, the notice of it has to go out. I think it's 10 clear days before, not 3 clear days.
But it is just the notice saying there will be a parish meeting.
Yeah.
If then the village group. I think that's just.
And again, I've already said before, there is the police forum. So if you've got any concerns, or just want to meet the new police officers, Tilly Skippen is the new PCSO. I've forgotten the name of I know his name's Andrew, the PC, and I can't place his surname. But I'm sure they'll both be there, and we might even get a sergeant, who knows. That's Wednesday the 27th at 7 o'clock at Hanslope Community Hall.
There's also a parishes forum, which I forgot to put on.
There is a parishes forum next week, but actually that is not a public meeting. It's being done by Teams.
Yeah.
It's a team. Right, in that case, part 1 of the meeting is then closed.
Going to stop screening.
Hmm?
You're going to stop screening.
I will now stop streaming. Thank you for reminding me. So thank you everyone if you've watched so far, and we'll see you on the 15th.